What's good YouTube, and welcome to the house. It's not every day that the Yu-Gi-Oh community comes together and looks at a card or strategy that is printed and says, we freaking hate this. So I wanted to go over the top 10 most hated strategies of all time, starting with some honorable mentions, such as the famously quoted Sutff by Billy Brake. Sutff have the most intricate mirror match. I do suggest you try it sometimes, but before hand traps really came to the forefront of being everything that is Yu-Gi-Oh, Sutff looked at your opponent and said, okay, go ahead, make a move. Any move. Summon, I can react to that. Oh, you wanted to use a monster effect, I can react to that. Activate a spell, yeah, I'm gonna stop that. Battle phase, you want to attack, I'll end the battle phase. And should they have the field spell up, then they put out monsters that continue the grind, like Omega. They're gonna hit a card out of your hand and give it back to you later. Zeta, take a monster off the field and give it back to you later. It's just this very grindy, long game, and I feel like it finally got pushed out thanks to Utopia the Lightning, stopping them from being able to react in the battle phase should they not have something to stop a summon earlier on. And then we get to another honorable mention, the originator of the term helmet in our community, Bujins. Maybe because it looks like he has a helmet on, but while people were trying to combo off and create intricacies within the game, he said, oh yeah, I'm gonna rest here on this Kaiser Coliseum, set a couple cards, you go ahead and try to do something. I'm just gonna end phase use my effect if that's okay. People really did not like this straightforward, just off strategy that did not take a lot of skill. But let's go ahead and get into our top 10 most hated decks of all time, starting with our number 10 position. It combines two things that Yu-Gi-Oh players really hate: burn and needling that burn in at 200. By the way, did you remember to take 200 more off for that field spell? The field spell that locked down your cards and also got me a search? Oh, 200 more, 200 more. And being able to actually OTK with that little needle burn, and also essentially FTK in your draw phase, but it also could rob you of your entire hand thanks to Trickstar Reincarnation, forcing you to go ahead and draw extra, and then using Drone Lock, and hey, I'll do it again, using a second Reincarnation to just steal everything from you, and you never even got to play a freaking card. So hand loops are something Yu-Gi-Oh players definitely don't like. Not being able to play a single card, who wants to go through that while you get slowly beat down and hope that anything you draw can be a resource, on top of getting OTK'd / essentially FTK'd by a burn deck. But in our number 9 position comes to a longer, grindier, hey, can you do anything? I didn't think so, with Stun. It combines floodgate effects and monsters, as well as back row to protect those monsters as a central strategy, and just plays this back and forth that I personally had times where I enjoyed it, but I do see why people hate it. And a newer version of the deck came out when we got Inspector Border. Fossil Dyna's also resurfaced in today's metagame within a combo, so people are definitely feeling what it can do. I think that when people look at these cards, though, they have memories of long, grindy games, hopeless, countless, please my spell and trap removal come to me. But under the new master rule, I do feel like Border gets a little weaker since they can summon more types from the extra deck, and then Dyna gets even stronger as people start to rely on their extra deck all the more. It's give and take. Remember, Dyna actually came back during full power Pepe format with the barrier statue strategy, and then you came back in early Zodiac, but then got trumped by True Draco. And our number 8 position, very, very well put, is a different kind of 200, 200, 200, pay 800, pay 800, pay 800. This is the most I've ever seen a deck called Helmet out of frustration from people in this pendulum deck that really didn't combo up. You tributed to get effects, and you had a tower-like thing literally called towers, which is how we refer to boss monsters now, that just sat there and did its thing and beat you in the face that couldn't be affected by your cards. Now, this has definitely changed in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not the threat that it once was, since we don't only have levels and ranks, but man, did people really dislike facing this back in the day. And our number 7 position is probably the most controversial card printed of all time, Mystic Mine and its strategies. You have Mystic Mine Burn, which has fell off the map a little bit, and you also have just Mystic Mine as a stall strategy for, say, Exodia decks and others. Now, why it makes this list over something like Chainburn is Chainburn eventually became the hero. We have Ryan Yu making his win at the Nationals, actually Worlds, my bad, sorry, didn't mean to actually downgrade you. You got, like, I believe second at that Nats also. But seriously, Chainburn had its moment where people cheered for it, and Burn throughout time actually evolved to where Kenny So's Burn during Troop Dupe got rooted for. Burn has a love-hate relationship with the community, but Mystic Mine as a card, as a floodgate strategy that combines with that, is what people truly dislike, and they just don't like this card existing at all, and I am one of those too. In our number 6 position, we go back to the Necros format, where Necros didn't even win the NAWCQ or make the finals of it, but people certainly did hate Genlock. Some famous moments, like, you want to side out Jin? Oh, man, the gentleman's agreements. But seriously, this card being sendable from deck by Lavalval Chain and into a strategy where you can only play a couple outs and hope to draw them if you're going to deal with it, created this dynamic in Yu-Gi-Oh! That was so toxic that, yeah, you had people trying to side this card out. In our number 5 position, another recent hand loop, the good old Neospatian Aqua Dolphin, Goki, and Gumblar Wumblar loops. This deck stole everything from people, making it so they couldn't play but maybe one card, and also combined with Rongo Bongo later on. Weren't those fun times? I've not seen decks called for to be banned, except for one other for so long for its power, and hand loops in general have not been received well in the game. We actually go back to wind-ups. This is another hand loop that people hated and wanted off the map, but now people want the wind-up engine back, saying ban Hunter and give us Zenmaity to 3. Like, it's pretty crazy how far we've come. And X-Sabers, I think people were actually impressed when they did their hand loop, and people were very big fan favorites of X-Sabers. So I do feel like Gumblar hand loop earns a special place, maybe partly thanks to Rongo Bongo, maybe partly due to being accessible from the extra deck. In our number 4 position, Yadalock. This is the original. Minus 200. Okay, go ahead, pass. Oh, you didn't draw any. Okay, my turn. 200, and eventually getting out the resources. And the fact that Chaos Emperor Dragon could blow up the whole field, get you the Sangan, and put this at the forefront. If you didn't have Sinister Serpent, you're never getting a card again. It was a pretty crazy time, and becomes the reason for the first ever ban list. We had forbidden, well, actually just limited list up until that point, but the forbidden part of the forbidden and limited list is all thanks to this strategy. Now, in our number 3 position is a little bit of an FTK that was at the forefront of the meta. We have Frog FTK. People despised and hated this strategy. Mass Driver piling through you, and it was so consistent for its time. Like I said, people were fan favorites of X-Sabers and maybe even impressed by their hand loop because there was more degeneracy and debauchery at the time accessible to both these cards that are now banned. People ask me today, why is Substitute over on there? Well, there's very good reason for him to be on the list. Now, you hear this plenty today, I'm sure, in our number 2 position. It's easily True Draco. People despise True Dracos, mainly because they've been in our metagame for about 3 to almost 4 years now, starting with the Towers Like Monster and Masterpiece that is now banned, to just drawing. I'm gonna get everywhere. I'm gonna get all these advantages. I have a card that draws for me, lets me tribute it, and lets me hit a spell and trap. I have a trap that lets me tribute during your turn, pop one of your monsters, and can also half all your monsters' attacks. Other spells and traps feel like they do 3 different things because they do. They have one of the best field spells, and I get why people dislike this deck in general. And you have all these memes right now popping up on Twitter, like clown shoes being laced up, Draco players getting ready for regionals. Draco players as a phrase is community-wide right now, and I haven't felt such disdain for a deck that people aren't calling for to be hit, but instead just hate the player group in general. I met a lot of nice Draco players, by the way. I don't think it's the players in general, but man, do people dislike how long this deck has been around. And in our final position, entering along with the FTKs, is Firewall Loops, my brother. Firewall has never created a situation like any other It was crazy to look at social media aflame on Konami's page going ban Firewall, ban Firewall, ban Firewall, until they finally did. People thought he had plot armor. It was argued about for multiple ban lists, and Firewall just enabled so many different things and was finally taken care of and banned. It's reminiscent of one of the earliest FDKs, Magical Scientist, where this card just let you loop and loop and loop and allowed so much degeneracy. It's very first printing. Like, we had early decks that abused the Infernities, another kind of hated deck by some people, loved by others, combo deck like we were talking about earlier. But the fact that there was an FTK that early, and then it continues to evolve with Grand Soil, we get Grand Soil's errata, then it just problem after problem continues to produce. I don't think we'll ever see a card this hated or printed with this insane of a non-hard once per turn effect. Again, well, not even a once per turn effect on that summoning clause. So an enabler like this as a boss monster, I don't think we'll see it again, period. But let me know what you guys think of this top 10 list. What did I miss? Maybe should I have put Chain Strike in for its longevity of being hated over Mystic Mine? I feel like I have put a lot of modern twist into this list, so I understand if you might have different objections or what you would put into it, but I feel like I also weighed community reactions, and we do have social media these days, versus the player base and the size of the player base. But do let me know what you think. What decks did I miss? What would you put in here over other decks? And maybe you're one of the people who did play this and like to ruin some people's days. I don't blame you on the Gumbler loop or Firewall. These were forefronts of their metagame, like I said. Others were kind of rogue strategies that I mentioned, but do let me know. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversation despite the flashbacks to some of these duels, and use my TCG Player link in the description down below whenever shopping TCG Player. It seriously does help the channel a lot during this cold January ad revenue. Thanks for watching, everybody.